I'd like to call the Quarry Monitoring Committee for Tuesday, November 29th, 2022 to order. Please do the roll call.
Alderman Barber.
Here.
Member Swenson.
Here.
And the Alderwoman Kristen Woolhan is absent. The Alderwoman Kristen Woolhan is absent. Member Ten Haken is absent. Member Mersch.
Here.
And Member Pins.
Here.
Does that constitute a quorum?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Moving on to the agenda as printed, approval of the minutes. The last meeting was September 27th, 2022. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes.
I second if I can.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Okay, the next item, item 3, is a citizen comment period. So any citizens wishing to come forward and make comments, please do. Seeing no comments or no citizens come forward or comments come forward, I'll close the citizen comment period. There are no hearings to talk about for this evening. So item 5, we'll get right into the good part of the meeting, the business part of the meeting. Item A is a review of the discussion on matters pertaining to citizen complaints, blasting data, and Payne Dolan and Stanek, the city consultant. Stanek.
Okay. Just want to review the third quarter report. So this would cover July through September, just to kind of get frame of reference on it. So the last meeting you had was right before the quarter ended, so we weren't able to present then. So in the third quarter, we did 4 observation events at the quarry. 3 of them were the unannounced inspection, and 1 was an announced inspection when we were inside of the quarry. Everything looked good. Occasionally we're seeing minimal dust on Rawson Avenue, but we're generally out there as well. No major debris or anything like that. For seismic monitoring, we have our 2 normal meters out there that are co-located with 2 of the 4 meters owned by the quarry, and in the quarter, we had a total of 26 blasting events, and the Stantec meters were able to pick up 24 of the 26. Depending on the location, we're only picked up by the ones that are a single meter owned by the quarry, not a Stantec meter, depending on where the blast was. Per the PDD, the quarry has to have 85% of their blast below the permissible vibration, and we had no events of the 26 vibration, and we had no events of the 26 that were above that limit. And also per the PDD, there is a decibel limit of 123 decibels. There were no events this quarter that were above that limit. However, one earlier this year. Year to date, they're at 98.4%, so they're well within the permissible limits.
How high was that one that was over? Do you recall?
I think it was like 125. It was slightly over.
As opposed to 123 or whatever.
Opposed to 123, yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't slightly over the limit. The Sols, our meters are provided by Sols, and they were calibrated last in October of last year. I'm following up to see when the calibration happens. It's typically in the fall, so we'll have that covered in the fourth quarter report. For the blast complaints for the quarter, there were a total of 3 formal complaints and 1 informal complaint. All of them were regarding vibration. All of them corresponded to actual blast events. All of them were identifiable locations, so nobody requested anonymity this quarter. Each of the complainants, it was unique. Each time we didn't have anybody complaining multiple times. One was east of 51st Street and 3 were south of Drexel Avenue, which is fairly typical to have most of the complaints coming from south of Drexel with an occasional complaint to the east of 51st Street. The weather, I don't think was a factor in any of these. One was in the northern area of the quarry, and those typically correspond to the complaints on the east of 51st Street, and the 2 blasts that had complaints were south of the quarry, southern end of the quarry, and those were for the ones south of Drexel. Quarter had more than 2 complaints, so not a very active quarter in terms of complaints. And I'll just show the drawing briefly. Scroll a little bit. A couple of the blasts in the south. The majority of the blasts did not have any complaints associated with them. Here's the northern blast that had the complaint up here. This does not appear to be in the recently developed new subdivision. I'm watching that.
Okay. Well, there's just a few people living there so far.
Yeah,
A lot of it's being-
I haven't driven by. Wasn't able to get there before dark to see what kind of activity is going on. Months to see if we're starting.
They're building.
They're building actively.
I had one question.
Yes.
Under the blast complaints on page, I believe it's 2 at this point, there's 3 that are related to the general and 4 that are showing up for blast complaints. What is the difference? 4 that are showing up for blast complaints. What is the difference there?
Because one was an informal, they didn't give any information as to what was going on.
So
It just said that we were complaining about a blast
So-
on that date that corresponded.
in the 4 are the 3.
Yes.
Nothing in addition.
Yep.
And it's all inclusive of that.
Exactly. Occasionally, we'll have a complaint that'll say it was vibration and noise. Usually, it's vibration only. But for the informal complaint, we just had a complaint on a date and approximate time that corresponded with the blast, and we didn't have any other information to share on that.
And as informal, that's just called in.
On that.
And as informal, that's just called in.
It was just called in. Yeah.
I actually had met some of the people that moved into the new Korean development on 50th Street there, and
Your mic.
It's one more time. No. It should be red. There you go.
there it is. Okay, I had actually met some of the residents who have moved into the development, Meridian Development on 50th, and I was talking to one guy who bought the biggest house in that lower, no kids, and they've got this 4,000 square foot home, but really nice guy. Anyway, we're talking, and all of a sudden, we felt the blast. We heard the blast, didn't feel it so much, and he goes, "What was that?" And I said, "Oh, there's a quarry right over here." "Oh, I did not know." I said, "How could you not know? I mean, it's right there, and you come to..." I said, "It's been there for a long, long, long time. They've been good neighbors, and this is what they do. This is their business. And in fact, the rock that's around your basement and the concrete and everything is all coming out of that quarry. So just so you know, that's the origin of your home." So he goes, "Oh, well, good to know." He had no complaint about it, but I've met about it. But I've met a lot of people moving there, though, and considering the price of these homes, a lot of professionals, a urologist who just got his residency done in Boston, bought one of the homes. This other guy was a lawyer living in that home I just talked about, and that kind of thing. So that level of housing, which...
And probably work days.
Hmm?
And probably work days.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when they retire, we'll hear from them.
Yeah, that's when I started feeling it at home, when I'm not at work every day, but yeah.
But overall, the evaluation didn't have. But overall, the evaluation didn't have anything unusual in
Okay.
terms of complaint locations, numbers, or anything like that.
Put this on file? Place on file?
I would so move to put it on file.
And possibly, do we want to send this on to the council, or wait till year end to send the year-end report on to council?
We don't have a year-end report, we
I
just
know,
have the
but
quarterly
should-
reports.
would-
Or we can wait to have, or we
I
just
know,
have the
but
quarterly
should-
reports.
would-
Or we can wait to have
Yeah.
the
How it's
4
so-
quarters. So.
What's the wish of the
Entire year.
committee, just to forward the year end and not, because there's nothing really to update? I mean, if there were things to update on or issues, I'd say, go ahead, but I would just probably assume that the year end would be forwarded, but I would just probably assume that the year end would be forwarded, so. Okay. So we'll just place this on file for us. Okay, the next one is the Quarry.
Hold on, did the motion have a second?
Move to place on file, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so carried unanimously. Now, the next part of this is the... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, she has another item in the agenda.
Oh,
so-
okay, go ahead.
No, I'm not the next item. I think that there's one in between.
Right, you're the following item, so.
Should we take it now
Yeah.
out of order?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, for the next, Kristen presented the quarterly report from July to September. So I just included additional information, the blasting results for October and November until the 16th. During that period, we just received four complaints, 2 on the October 10th and 2 on the October 31st. Blasting limits within compliance, and the air overpressure for the event in the 10th was just right to the limit, but it's just right to the limit, but it's still in compliance. From these 4 complaints, 3 of these complaints came from the south.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
So they weren't the same complaints as when you have the 4, there are different complaints come into you as opposed to... or they're
Right,
the
it's
same?
just a coincidence that we have.
Okay.
Right.
It's interesting that
Okay.
on that one event where the noise was 123, which is right at the limit, but yet the PPV, the actual vibration, was only 0.088, where it makes so far away from being anywhere near the limit. I can't imagine to the PPV limits of 0.3, 0.35 or 3.0. That's what constantly amazes me, is that the PPVs are so much lower than the allowed limits, but we're bouncing up there with the decibels.
Is that where weather forecasts or other
Up there with the decibels.
Is that where weather forecasts or other conditions have an influence, possibly?
Yeah, that I don't know. But Kristen will go into further details in the quarterly report.
Yeah.
That-
Okay. So are there any other questions about the data from the part of October?
No, this is October and part of November. Just make that.
Oh, it did
Yeah.
go from the part of December? Okay.
There's just a
I see
couple
it.
of-
I see it now.
There's just a couple of days that there was N/T, which was no transmitted data.
And
on those
not
days.
trigger.
No transmitted data?
Not
on those
trigger.
Not triggered,
Not triggered, okay.
not detectable.
Okay, it's not that that unit or that monitoring device was out of order or anything, it was just not detected there, okay, good to know.
So except for that one that approaches the upper limit, everything else,
Well,
that would be well within the limits of what we're, especially the percentage of 85%. Okay, motion to place the quarry information on file as well? Unless there's any questions on that data. Anybody have any?
Make the motion.
Place on file? Is there a second?
I second that motion.
A motion has been made. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Okay. Then- Review. Is there a point where we want, where do we discuss the next contract?
This item, the SCOTA services, 5C.
Oh, my minutes only go through B. That's because it was a September meeting. This meeting, okay, I see it. There it is. I see that we've discussed the, presentation from Stantec. We've reviewed the matters as, citizens' complaint, Payne Dolan. Is there any discussion on the citizens' complaints part of that was presented to us with Stantec, as well as anything, any discussion on that? I mean, we've approved it, but I just wanted to go backtrack to pick up this item B, where it says blasting data pertaining citizen comments, complaints.
So I would be curious as to, the nature of these complaints, i.e. my whole house was shaking. The rumbling was so bad that it woke my cat up. I look at these complaints, and I would really like to know the content of these complaints. I don't know about anyone else, but I sit here and I go, well, yeah, I could
Yeah.
call my alderman and say,
Well,
you know,
He's out of town.
well, he is, and say,
Well,
you know,
He's out of town.
well, he is most of the time. And he's never around for coffee. The point is, are these people actually really upset, or is this just, I'm sorry, today's the day there's just, I'm sorry, today's the day there's blasting, it's going to be, I gotta call in a complaint. I would really like to know the urgency.
We can add some information on
Right.
that in the report.
The urgency or
The nature of why
exactly. I mean, like talking to it and you heard the rumble or whatever. Then again, you know what? I constantly, and I'm a little bit more of a distance away, a block and a half, but more times I'm hearing rumbling, and it's coming from trucks with machineries, and it's louder than I hear. I can confirm with Alderman Barber that we hear more noise during the fireworks for the homecoming. I mean, is it that loud? Is it can hear? I mean, our whole neighborhood can hear that. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I consider the Franklin High School football game entertainment in my backyard.
Well, absolutely, and same thing too. I mean, I hear the fireworks coming all the way from the Rock.
I like listening to the high school band at 10 o'clock at night.
appreciate them, especially early in the morning when they're practicing.
Yeah. So, I guess what we can do is maybe look at, the next item here would be the quarry monitoring scope of services for the calendar. I think we could probably carry that over to that item and open it again. We could probably carry that over to that item and open it again for maybe how you would capture comments. Is there something extra with that or over and above to do that? I don't know if the city can do that as well with the 4 complaints that come in this way.
We have the information because there is a section in the complaint form where the complainant provide like a brief description.
Yeah, we're looking for
we have the
highlights.
information.
We're looking for the highlights.
For the-
What are they really?
Right.
What are they saying? I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But let's carry that over.
Okay.
Any more discussion about I think we pretty well covered that.
The only thing with complaints is just, we had talked about before, but the fact that people have been replied to. So they got to, okay, there we go. I'm sorry, when people do make a complaint, I like to just be sure that they are getting replied to.
Oh, sure,
And
yeah.
You had said they had been.
Yeah, there's a
Have been.
section. Oh, sure,
And
yeah.
You had said they had been.
Yeah, there's a
have been.
section that says, do you want to be contacted by a representative of the city or Panhandle? And we normally call within days after the complaint. Yeah.
It's just a call? Or is it a letter? Or?
A call, yeah.
Oh,
A
okay.
call, yeah.
That's cool.
See then, quarry monitoring scope of services for calendar year 2023. And I'd ask Rego for an update on the budget, where it stands right now. It's almost approved at this point.
Correct, yeah.
So
But the amount for the quarry monitoring services has not changed. The amount for the quarry monitoring services has not changed. It's the same amount
is
of
it
last year.
43.5?
45,000.
45, okay. So, and that's what the last contract was as well?
Yes.
Okay.
A question, if I may. The city of Franklin, or does the quarry reimburse the city for the 45,000?
Yeah, that is a pass-through from the quarry.
Okay,
operator.
good to know. They're the business benefiting from the quarrying process and making,
Do we have a copy of the contract at all in the minutes?
No. So this is only the Exhibit A or Attachment A that we attach to the contract.
Okay.
But the contract is generally the city's template, similar.
The attachment A that you have there is for the quarterly report.
Oh, that's a different attachment, okay. As well as B and C.
Yeah, B, C, B, and a figure and a table.
Okay.
It says attachment A, quarry monitoring services. And it's a summary document we present towards the end of every year.
Okay, so this item A is just the description of the services?
Excuse me?
No.
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 There's an email
It's-
attachment that kind of bullets
A
out.
few things, yeah.
Yeah, so you have the email first, and from the consultant, and then the attachment A, that is the table with the scope services.
Oh, I didn't get that one then. I got the, let's see, it's here. Yeah, here. it
Oh,
is.
that one, yep.
It's on the bottom. Got it. So where would we add the language that we're discussing about how we would capture the highlights of the conversations or the complaints? How would that be? Oh, I got it.
We could make sure it's part of the bullet items for the quarterly reports and presentation. I'm the person that writes the reports and presents to you, so I can make sure that happens.
So it's just a couple bullet points, I think,
Just a
is
couple,
all
yeah,
we're
I'm
adding.
thinking just
that
summary,
points, I
just
think,
a
is
couple,
all
yeah,
we're
I'm
adding.
thinking just
that-
summary. If
would
one or
that
two of the
capture-
events are more specific in nature, I would call out a specific event, otherwise it would be general comments.
Okay. Is that,
Question, regular, all the complaints come directly to the city, not
I get the copies from,
City to you.
yes.
I'm the operator.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the middleman.
So this is what you're recommend because of the small increase in operations monitoring, small increase in blasting monitoring, so the corresponding would be to go from 9 to 8? And
Yes.
that would allow us to be within the...
And we changed the amount of budget set aside for exceptional blast events from 3 down to 1. Budget set aside for exceptional blast events from 3 down to 1. We have not used that budget in the portion of the budget in the past 2 years. We did use it in 2020.
Okay.
And we think it's prudent to keep 1 in reserve. But 2020 was kind of a year, and I think just the presence of a lot of people working from home, it was good to have that budget available that year.
So let's go through each one and just see if everybody's in agreement with it. Operations monitoring, there's a small increase per cost per event. So the number of events reduced from 9 to 8. The number of events reduced from 9 to 8 to stay within the $45,000 budget. Is that, any questions on that as far as the new contract?
And that will remain a combination of announced and unannounced inspections. At least 1, probably 2 will be announced when we go to the quarry. The others will remain the unannounced when we're just going and doing an inspection on a random day to see
But
what
you
normal looks
still
like.
go in.
We do not go into the quarry.
Just
We do
twice a year?
twice a year.
Okay.
The unannounced, we do a full perimeter drive
Okay.
of the entire quarry, the gates, to see, especially since a lot of the operational complaints historically had also been for dust. So we're watching traffic on Rawson to make sure there are no issues.
And when you say full perimeter, that's on top? Is that like on 51st and
We-
Rawson and
51st,
Drexel?
we do Rossel and 68th Street.
So what would a perimeter show?
We're listening, we're looking for evidence of dust coming outside of the quarry, checking to make sure there's no debris on the roads.
You can stop at my house right after I, days later, and check it
Yeah.
out, but, you know,
So if it's
But we're
going-
checking for debris on the road, on all 4 roads. In the years that I've done it, I've never seen any issues other than right on Rawson, and generally it's very limited.
So do you spend much time doing that? Is it like just a drive?
It's a drive around, and then when we're watching the trucks leaving, that can take a while because we want trucks leaving going both east and westbound to check to see what kind of debris is coming off. We're just checking to see if we're seeing any issues. And we take videos of those, and those actually get uploaded to a SharePoint site where those actually get uploaded to a SharePoint site where Regulo has access to everything. And we submit that report usually the day of or the day after each of those inspections to let them know if we've noticed any issues.
Is there a difference in cost from either the perimeter or going inside?
The perimeter, we are external, we do a perimeter inspection in addition to going inside of the quarry, so those last a little bit longer, but the $800 is the average is what they come out to.
Okay. Just was wondering if there'd be more of a, do you gain more information? Would you gain more information going in? Just was wondering if there'd be more of a, do you gain more information? Would you gain more information going inside as opposed to outside?
One of the other things we look at is we're just confirming that they've got their operational data for dust control in place. And one of the things I'm looking at when I go in there is how it's changing over time and how that may impact where we're hearing some of the complaints. I can physically see where they're blasting. I was present for a blast during one of my on-site announced inspections, so that was neat to see.
So with the new numbers, there'd be still 2 inside of it.
That was neat to see.
So with the new numbers, there'd be still 2 inside of it, 6 outside.
Correct.
That's what we're talking about. Is that acceptable for everybody at this point? Does anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah. I personally, being Army Corps of Engineers, being an Army Corps, but I would love to come in and just watch a blast. I'm a guy.
It was pretty cool. I'm a geologist by training, so it was really cool for me too.
Last meeting, Clint did mention that if anybody wanted to come and observe a blast, to get in touch with him, but then he left the meeting before I could get his contact information.
Right here, we've got the source.
Arranged to come and actually view a blast. That'd be cool.
Okay, so that part of the contract will go from 9 to 8, maintaining the 6-to-2 ratio. Okay. The blast monitoring, there's a small increase per cost per event, same number of events.
It's the monthly fee for our monitors that we have
Monitors.
co-located.
Okay.
And those are pretty much on all the time. when
They're on all the
there's-
time. It's a pass-through
Yeah.
cost from the contractor that provides and maintains the equipment and the website where we can go on and grab the data whenever we want.
So with no change, we'll just leave that blast monitoring as is. Any other thoughts? Okay, the part of the contract that has exceptional blast complaint evaluation, cost remains the same in these 2 years. Thus, if there's only one major exception, it would get resolved, and the likelihood of having one is minimal but possible.
Possible, and we wanted to keep one on there.
Okay.
Like I said, it hasn't been used the past 2 years.
And it was,
It's been used the past 2 years.
and it was.
Knock on wood, we're
it
not
was-
quite done with 22.
There was 3 items that were,
We did 3 the first year, but that was 2020 when a lot more people were working from home. And I think they weren't accustomed to the daytime events that had been happening all along.
When you're not hearing the noise.
Yes.
okay, the next one, the Quarry reports, is that part of the contract, small increase per event, but the same number of events, so it's 4 quarters, we'll get the quarterly reports. And they would include now the section with some complaint highlights.
Yes.
Here, is that language we can incorporate? Just to include the highlighting of the complaints.
I can have Mike add that.
Like a bullet point explaining like the nature of the complaints.
Yeah, something like that, just to capture that.
And by including the cost, it's a freebie.
What? Something like that, just to capture that.
And by including the cost, it's a freebie.
What?
Including in the cost, it's a freebie. Excuse me.
Okay, this could be in the meeting minutes to share with the committee member. Seeing none, we can move on. We can just leave it at that. I think that pretty much covers it. If you look at the contract itself, all we're going to do is change the language on one of them now, and these numbers reflect the actuals, the totals. That'll be the new contract, the totals. That'll be the new contract for 2023.
Actually, we're just advisory, so it's the council that will be approving it, but yeah.
Well, it has to go to council.
Yeah.
Correct.
As we would recommend. So with that change in the language, can we recommend moving it to council, or do we want to wait?
I would definitely
But-
move to forward it to council if it need be.
Just with the one item change with the highlights would be
Yeah.
added to this. And then this can go, so I'd have a motion, recommend this to move on.
I'll make that motion.
I would second it.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
No, I just think this is very important. What we do, it seems like it's not a lot, but we're just watching and being aware of
You
things.
just spent
It's important.
$45,000.
I know, isn't it great? Now, if I could just pay off my mortgage by that much, that'd be cool.
Well, Well, that's not in here. I looked in.
My mortgage is not in there?
No.
Okay.
There's no watermarks. There's nothing that would cover that anyway, so. Okay, I'll take a vote on it. It's been motioned and seconded to accept this and as our recommendation to the council for the Quarry monitoring services for 2023. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was waiting for that.
Okay, and I think I kept you longer. I don't know if that's allowed under the bylaws, but
It was all the citizen comments.
yeah, that's
Thank
what it
God.
was. Okay, at this point, I see no further on the agenda. Shall we make a motion to adjourn?
Hold
Or
on.
wait, do you want to set a meeting date? Okay. Let's look at a meeting date. Let's look at a meeting date. Do we want to have a meeting in December between Christmas and New Year's?
I'll be around.
I think we could
I won't
pass.
have a report for you.
Okay, given that information, the next meeting will be in January.
Okay.
That works.
Tuesday.
Works for me.
Yep.
Okay.
That's not a council day.
Everybody's checking their calendars.
No.
No.
No, because it will be the first, that is the third, and the third Tuesday, that is the 17th. The third Tuesday, that is the 17th. So.
Okay, now I would entertain a motion to that everybody have a happy holiday season. I so move.
I'll second that.
Say aye. So we all are going to have a happy holiday season. Okay.
Very good.
Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, yes, I second that.
Or if you've got punch or something that you want to share, we can keep this going.
Oh, I'll give you a punch.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous.